Heart of Thorns. Night draped the forest in damp velvet, muffling the usual chorus of nocturnal wings. Within a crooked stone cottage half swallowed by thorn bushes, Isolde crushed fennel seeds beneath a pestle, her breath fogging in the chill. Lantern light limned the ridges of pale scars crisscrossing her palms, memories etched by every life her magic had saved. They resembled rose thorns, jagged and tender all at once. Tonight they burned as if foretelling trouble. A knock, tentative yet urgent, creaked through the doorframe. She slid the bar aside. A gaunt baker she recognized only as Mistress Wren stood clutching a child whose skin blazed with fever. "I was told the Thorn Witch could help," the woman whispered, voice quavering with dread and hope. Isolde ushered them in without ceremony. "Lay her by the fire. I need your scarf." The mother peeled off wool, watching while Isolde stirred tinctures of moon-dried yarrow and ground myrrh. Steam spiraled, fragrant and sharp. The child whimpered, eyelids fluttering. "This will pull the fever." Isolde pressed the poultice to the girl's chest, murmuring words older than stone. Green luminescence seeped through fabric, threading into flesh. The scars on Isolde's hands flared. Pain pinched deep, but she kept chanting. Moments later, the child exhaled a cool breath and sagged into sleep. Tears carved paths down Mistress Wren's cheeks. "How can I repay?" "Leave before dawn." Isolde turned away, hiding raw tremors in her fingers. "Speak no names. The king's hounds have new ears." The woman fled with murmured blessings. Isolde braced her hands against the work table until the tremor eased. Healing cost more each time. One day her own heart would be the final price. She rinsed scarlet-flecked water from the basin, doused the lantern, and allowed herself a heartbeat of silence. It shattered with a boot against her door. She spun, palms tingling with fresh heat. The latch splintered inward. A hooded man entered, silver badge of the royal crest glinting. Behind him strode two others, faces shadowed. The leader lowered his cowl, steel-haired, eyes keen. "Forgive the intrusion," he said, tone icily polite. "I am Lord Alaric, advisor to Prince Darien of Velanthria. Your reputation precedes you, Thorn Witch." Isolde's pulse pounded. "Threatening a healer is poor politics." "It is politics that brings me." Alaric removed leather gloves. "His Highness lies poisoned beyond mortal aid. If he dies, the realm fractures. If you refuse, your forest will burn as collateral." Cold anger rose, but duty cut deeper. "Why should I trust a court that hunts my kind?" "Because I offer a writ of sanctuary signed by the prince himself." Alaric produced a seal imprinted on crimson wax. "And because refusing condemns him." Isolde stared at the seal, a hawk clutching a laurel. Rumors claimed the prince urged leniency toward captured mages, though none spared, yet lived. "Poison your own law forged," she muttered, slipping vials into her satchel. "Leave the cottage first." Alaric gestured. His men retreated. Isolde banked the hearth, threw a cloak over shoulders, and followed into moon-washed clearing where 4 black horses waited. They blindfolded her gently, binding wrists loosely. "Forgive the measure," Alaric said, helping her mount. "Routes to the palace must remain secret." She bit back retort. Secrets kept her alive, too. Hooves thundered down hidden trails. Pine scent turned to wet stone as they crossed a bridge. The world narrowed to thudding hearts and rushing wind. Hours blurred. When the blindfold came off, she stood before an iron postern beneath looming ramparts. Frost crusted the gate, the air reeking of river mist and old magic warding runes. Alaric guided her through lantern-lit tunnels, past sleeping suits of armor and tapestried corridors pulsing with oppressive silence. Into a vast chamber they stepped, walls of onyx, floor mosaic, depicting the founding sun swallowing a serpent. A canopy bed draped in velvet sat at its heart. Prince Darien lay upon it, skin waxen, lips bluish. Candlelight flickered behind crystal vials arrayed by frantic royal healers now dismissed. Only a single maid remained, eyes red from tears. "The poison?" Isolde asked. "Obsidian bane laced with wolf's bane and nightshade," Alaric answered. "Alchemists suspect enchanted origin." She knelt, brushing hair from the prince's brow. Feverish heat met her cool fingertips. A silver goblet bore dried black residue. She raised it to her nose. Metallic sweetness tingled. "There's bloodroot and stilled flame dust. This is meant to halt the heart, then bind it in sleep, a mage's brew." Alaric's jaw tightened. Treason within court. Or beyond. Isolde unrolled linen, laid out quartz blades, a sprig of fresh thyme, and a vial glowing faint green. "To purge this toxin, I must weave essence through his bloodstream. It will hurt him, and me. I will see it done." Alaric signaled the maid to fetch hot water and fresh cloth. "Save him." Isolde removed Darian's gauntlet. His pulse fluttered weakly. She sliced her own palm with quartz. Blood welled along thorn scars, mingling with power. She pressed hand to his sternum and whispered the ancient syllables. Emerald threads uncoiled from her veins, weaving into his. Agony knifed through bone. She felt the prince's pain echo, crashing over hers. Still she channeled, coaxing the poison to gather like storm clouds in her mind's eye, then flow back into the vial beside them, drop by inky drop. Darian's body arched, a strangled groan escaping. Alaric seized his shoulders. "Hold, Highness. Let her work." Sweat beaded Isolde's brow. Memories not her own flooded. Tall windows, marble halls. A boy listening to whispered condemnations of magic, yet longing for stories of wonder. She glimpsed Darian's face turning from court celebrations to secret corners where he penned decrees he dared not sign. The shard of his loneliness pierced her. In another flash she saw him at the banquet, raising a crystal glass as a hooded servant bowed low. Her breath hitched. A hood not of a servant, a spy. The vision dissolved as last threads of toxin fled. She tore her hand away, collapsing on the tapestried floor. Alaric caught her before her head struck stone. "Is it done? For now?" Her voice rasped. "He lives, but the bond I forged, it will grow. Prepare for consequences." Footsteps rushed. The maid returned with water. Isolde cleaned the prince's chest wound where veins had darkened. Color now crept to cheeks. His eyelids fluttered. She leaned closer. Darian's lashes parted, revealing eyes of storm cloud gray. They focused on her with startling clarity. "You," he whispered, voice rough as gravel. "Who are you?" The bond pulsed, her blood answering his. She swallowed. "No one of consequence." His hand rose, trembling, catching hers. Thorn scars glowed faintly beneath candlelight. "Pain," he murmured, sensing her raw flesh. "You're hurt." "I chose it," she answered. "Rest, Your Highness." Darian's grip tightened with surprising strength. Images flickered behind his gaze. Her cottage, the fevered child, lonely nights before a fire. He saw her memories as she had glimpsed his. Shock parted his lips, but exhaustion dragged him back into slumber. Isolde gently freed her fingers, pressing them to her throbbing temple. Alaric offered a cloth. "You need rest as well." "Not yet." She retrieved the vial of poison, now diluted by her blood. "Hide this. If the king smells magic, I hang before sunrise." Alaric nodded, slipping it into his cloak. "You'll have sanctuary. I swear it." "Sanctuary is a rumor." She stood, wavering. "But for tonight, it must suffice." Shadows gathered beyond the balcony doors where a violet dawn threatened. Isolde stared at the prince, chest rising steady, lips no longer blue. She had won him back from death, yet tied their fates with threads the crown would brand blasphemy. Blood-slick throbs in her palms warned the worst battles were ahead. But for one fragile breath in that silent room, Hope glimmered like dew on a thorn. The maid guided Isolde to a curtained alcove where a simple cot waited. Exhaustion crushed her as soon as rough sheets brushed skin. Through half-lidded eyes, she watched candlelight dance across sleepless walls. Before consciousness slipped away, she felt it. A whisper inside her chest, not her own. A heartbeat echoing hers. Rest, Isolde. A voice like rainfall in summer. I will keep you safe. She drifted into dreams of roses blooming in forbidden gardens, and a prince walking barefoot among them, unafraid of thorns. Isolde surfaced from uneasy dreams at the edge of first light, mind tangled in memories that were not hers. She saw herself striding through vaulted halls in polished boots, pausing before a mirror engraved with hunting hounds, adjusting a ceremonial sword. The reflection shifted. Prince Darian's gray eyes widened as he realized he was seeing the room through her sleeping senses. The awareness jolted them both awake in their respective beds across the chamber. She sat upright on the narrow cot, breath ragged. On the far side of the silken partition, bedding rustled, and a low voice muttered her name. She swung her legs over, steadied a throb behind her eyes, and slipped past the curtain. Darian lay half-reclined against pillows, sweat-dark curls plastered to his forehead, gaze fixed on her with wondering intensity. "I didn't call aloud, did I?" he asked, husky with sleep. "You whispered inside my head," she answered, pulse skipping. "The bond is strengthening faster than I feared. It brought me peace." He lifted a hand as though to prove he commanded it, then let it fall. "I tried to reach you, and suddenly I dreamed your cottage. I could smell pine smoke. Were you lonely out there?" She felt the truth tug at her, but masked it with brusque efficiency, touching his wrist to check his pulse. "Your heart's steady," she said, ignoring his question. "You should drink water." She poured from a crystal decanter, guiding the cup to his lips. He drank, eyes never leaving hers. The chamber doors opened. Lord Alaric entered accompanied by 2 palace healers, their velvet robes whispering across mosaic tiles. They bowed. "Your Highness," Alaric said, relief softening his stern features. "How fares the morning?" "Alive, thanks to our guest." Darian's gaze flicked to Isolde. "Where is my father?" "At dawn council," Alaric replied. "News of your recovery remains private until we confirm the poisoner." The elder healer cleared his throat. "Your Highness, with permission, we must examine the scar tissue around your heart." Darian nodded. Isolde stepped back, but his fingers caught hers for a fleeting moment, a silent plea not to wander far. She folded arms, watching as healers pressed runic sensors to his chest. Faint silver light traced ribs, mapping veins once blackened. The devices dimmed green. "Incredible," the healer murmured. "Not a trace of bane toxin." The younger healer, her eyes wide, whispered to Isolde, "What craft is this?" Isolde offered a thin smile. "Simple herbs and stubbornness?" But she saw suspicion bloom. In Velanthria, miracles wore the scent of forbidden magic. The younger woman's gaze lingered on Isolde's scarred hands before darting away. Once the healers withdrew, Alaric approached Isolde. "His Majesty granted you quarters in the eastern wing. Under guard for your safety, he says." The unspoken truth hung heavy. Safety meant surveillance. "Lead the way," she replied, palms prickling. She faced Darian. "Rest. I'll be near." He gave a reluctant nod, and those gray eyes followed until walls hid her. Alaric guided her through labyrinthine corridors. Sunbeams from narrow windows painted latticed gold across the stone, but chill drafts whispered past arrow slits. Tapestries displayed fiery angels smiting horned sorcerers. A reminder magic was enemy. Guards in black and silver livery escorted them, masks of indifference concealing curiosity. They halted at a mahogany door. Alaric handed her an iron key. "I'll visit when I can," he said quietly. "Trust no one else." She slipped inside. The chamber boasted a carved 4-poster, a writing desk, and a sliver of balcony overlooking misty gardens. Luxurious, yet bars across the balcony opening reminded her she was caged. She sniffed linens for sedatives, found none, then verified the lock. Standard, not enchanted. Still, a glyph shimmered faintly above the jamb. A ward to detect magical surges. She drew curtains, heart hammering. Any misstep would set alarms. Exhaustion tugged, but a sharper need took precedence. She pricked her thumb, letting a single drop fall onto the wooden floor, whispering a scrying word. Blood spread into a glistening map. At its center pulsed a crimson dot. Darien. Another sigil flared near the throne hall, full of jagged edges. The king's aura, cold and vigilant. Between them a smaller spark flickered and vanished. The shadow of their unknown enemy. She hissed softly, wiping blood away with her sleeve. A rap at the door startled her. A serving maid entered, balancing a tray of bread, cheese, and mulled wine. Golden hair hid most of her face. She set the tray down, curtsied, and backed out without a word. Something about her gait snagged Isolde's attention, the stiffness of military discipline. She crossed to the tray. Beneath the cheese lay a folded scrap of parchment. She unfolded it. "We know what you are, leave by nightfall or burn, no seal, no signature." Inked in hurried strokes, her skin crawled. Was it zealots, court conspirators? Either way, departure meant death, hers or Darien's. She tore the note into flakes, tossed them into the fireplace, and watched them curl to ash. Minutes later, a gentle knock preceded Lord Alaric's return. Lines on his brow had deepened. "The king demands your presence in the council gallery. He wishes to thank you." "To measure my throat for a noose," she muttered. Alaric's lips twitched. "If matters turn dire, keep silence unless absolutely necessary. I'll guide the conversation." She followed him through archways where nobles gathered in hushed knots. Trickle of rumor preceded her. Healer, miracle worker, witch. They entered an oval gallery floored in red marble. Atop a dais sat King Alderic, silver crown, hawk-like profile, eyes like chips of ice. Arrayed around him stood lords and ladies in rich brocade, including a powerfully built man with scarred knuckles, Lord Commander Briarwood, and a severe woman with parchment and quill, Magistrate Elise, Chief of Inquisitions. Isolde bowed with measured grace. The king's gaze swept her scars, perhaps mistaking them for work injuries, or recognizing them for what they were. "Rise," Alderic said. His voice was polished steel. "You have served my son beyond the capabilities of my physicians. Explain your methods so we may compensate accordingly." Isolde felt every noble ear tilt closer. She chose words with care. "A lineage recipe of herbs, your majesty, and a willingness to bleed so others need not." "Curious." Magistrate Elise's quill scratched. "Our master herbalist hailed your blend as unknown to apothecary lore." "Old lore survives in forgotten corners," Isolde replied. The magistrate's eyes narrowed. "And the glowing of wounds witnessed by palace staff?" Isolde's heartbeat skidded. "Residual phosphorescence from moonroot sap. Harmless." Alderic drummed fingers on armrest. "Regardless of mystery my air breathes. Velanthria owes you a reward. Gold? Land? Title?" Around him, counselors stiffened. Titles granted to commoners threatened their stature. Isolde bowed again. "I ask only safe passage home." Alderic inclined his head. "Granted, after my son stands before us healthy, you will remain within palace walls meantime." His tone weighed the promise like an iron manacle. "Briarwood, assign trusted guards." She exhaled. Half victory, half trap. Dismissed, she retreated with Alaric. He whispered, "Fortunate. Elise tests but lacks proof. Still, tread gently." That evening, Isolde joined Alaric in Darien's chamber. The prince, now clothed in a linen shirt and leather leggings, stood near the balcony wreathed in twilight haze. Seeing her, he smiled, a small softening that struck deep. "I hear you faced my father," he said, "and and survived. She moved closer. How do you feel? Alive in ways new. He flexed his hand. A faint coil of mist swirled about his fingers, then vanished. This happened an hour ago without conscious will. Your magic woke something in me. She reached, guiding his fingertips to the silver candle holder on a side table. Focus on the metal. Draw energy through breath. He inhaled. A faint gleam danced across the candle holder. Then it levitated an inch. He gasped. Breaking concentration, the holder clanged down. Extraordinary, Alaric murmured. Isolde's stomach clenched. The council cannot see this. Darian's shoulders squared. I will not hide. Not forever. She stepped back, crossing arms. Then you die forever. The Inquisition brands mage blood as treasonous conduit. They will strip title and head alike. I am the crown prince. And the law states magic is corruption, she cut in. Your father enforced it. You challenge him. You challenge the realm. Perhaps it is time someone did. His voice cracked with sudden fervor. These laws were forged in fear. I have lived under their weight all my life, watching innocence burn. If my own blood defies them, let truth out. Alaric cleared throat. Highness, revolution is not waged on dreams alone. We must expose the poisoner first. Prove the danger lies within the anti-mage faction. Isolde moved to the window, gaze sweeping dark courtyards below. I saw a hooded figure in Darian's memory. Our enemy lurks among servants, maybe nobility. Someone who wants the throne destabilized, and wants magic framed as cause. Alaric nodded. We track banquet staff lists. I will interrogate the steward. Footsteps echoed. Guard Captain Rowan entered with a bow. Highness requested scrolls. He handed parchment listing guests and servers. Darian opened it, eyes skimming. He paused, tapping a line. Here. Torn Gray, a footman recently hired on Lord Commander Briarwood's recommendation. Gray fled after the banquet, Rowan said. Alaric frowned. Briarwood claims loyalty, but his rise came from ruthless purges. If he orchestrates a false flag poisoning, he could rally harder oppression. Isolde's mind raced. We need proof. The poison ingredient suggests someone with military supply access. Briarwood's alchemists brew field tonics. Darian straightened. We host a recovery banquet tomorrow. Invite every noble. Briarwood will attend, expecting me frail. We reveal I am healed. Flush him into misstep. Isolde seized his arm. You play with daggers. He caught her hand in both of his, eyes blazing. Not alone. The bond thrummed warm between skin. Emotions spilled. Admiration, desire, fear. She sensed them as clearly as her own. Alaric's discreet cough parted them. I will draft invitations. Captain Rowan, double sentries and hide mage-warding talismans near banquet hall. If our foe tries again, we catch them. Rowan saluted, as you command. Night deepened. Alaric departed on silent errands. Rowan followed. Isolde lingered by the unlit hearth, uncertain. Darian approached slowly. Earlier you asked if I was lonely, she said, voice soft. I was. The forest offered safety, but solitude steals color from life. He reached to brush a stray lock from her cheek. I have dwelt within marble prisons with hundreds around me, yet felt more alone than wilderness can forge. Until you. Her breath hitched. Tomorrow you may stand against your own blood. Do not speak such words lightly. They are the only words heavier than crown. He cupped her jaw, thumb tracing the faintest scar at her temple. She sensed his heartbeat accelerating. Hers answered like a startled bird. She should move away, break the thread, but her body tilted toward him as though the bond were gravity. He leaned in. His lips brushed hers, tentative and urgent. Magic sparked, a flutter of warmth that spiraled from her throat to fingertips. She kissed back, then pulled away, stunned by the ferocity of wanting more. I should leave, she whispered, and you should stay, he said, still catching breath. No walls will keep you safer than the one built by my pledge." She shook her head. Safety is an illusion, but perhaps... She gathered courage. Lay her palm over his heart. "Promise me you will survive tomorrow. Without that, nothing matters." He covered her hand. "I swear on the bond we share." A brisk knock shattered the cocoon. Captain Rowan's muffled voice sounded. "Forgive, Highness. Patrol reports a breach in the East Wing." Isolde's blood chilled. Her quarters. She and Darian exchanged a glance, then followed Rowan at a run through torchlit passageways. A cluster of guards stood outside her door. The lock was splintered. Inside, sheets were slashed, wardrobe overturned. Shards of a small mirror glittered on the floor. Someone had ransacked thoroughly. Rowan knelt beside the window bars, now oiled to silence and loosened. "Intruder escaped this way." Isolde crouched, picking up a curved shard. A message etched on its reflective side read simply, "Witch." Rowan's jaw hardened. "They target you." Darian's grip found her shoulder. "You sleep in my chambers tonight under protection." Protest died on her lips, exhaustion and dread knotted her stomach. She nodded. Back in Darian's room, Rowan stationed 2 guards inside, 2 outside. Isolde curled in the cot beyond the silken partition once more. Candles dimmed, hush settling, yet sleep evaded. From the prince's side drifted steady breathing. She closed eyes only to feel a warm pulse through the bond. A whispered thought brushed her mind. "I will not let harm reach you." She exhaled, answering silently. "Nor I you." Somewhere deep in the palace, gears turned on conspiracies set long ago, but in the quiet shared between healer and prince, hope burned fierce as dawn, kindling the horizon. Just before dreams claimed her, another presence pricked at the edges of her thoughts, cold, searching, and furious. She jerked awake, listening, but only wind hissed against stained glass. The enemy roused. War had always been inevitable. Now it wore a familiar crest. She lay awake until faint gray filtered through drapes. She rose, washed, and donned a maid's plain dress Rowan procured, a disguise for blending among servants. Darian awaited near a tall window overlooking the courtyard, where banners draped for tonight's feast. He turned as she approached, features grave yet radiant with determination. "Are you ready?" he asked. "For battle hidden behind silk and smiles," she said. "Yes." He offered his arm. She took it, thorn-scarred hand resting against brocade. Guarded by Rowan, they walked toward plodding daylight, the bond between them humming like the first note of a song that would either crown a kingdom with newfound light or shatter every rose to bloodied petals. In the hall ahead, Lord Commander Briarwood emerged from a side stair, speaking low with Magistrate Elise. Briarwood's gaze flicked over Darian's vigorous stride and Isolde's presence. His smile did not reach his eyes. A storm gathered behind that courteous bow. Darian inclined his head but murmured to Isolde, "Watch him. Tonight we draw the thorn." She squeezed his arm once, "And plant a new garden." They separated, each swallowed by swirling corridors of velvet and intrigue, preparing for a banquet where music would mask swords, and love, forbidden and fierce, would stake its claim before all Velanthria. Evening draped the palace in honeyed lamplight and suspense so thick it felt like incense. Minstrels tuned lutes in the grand ballroom, their tentative notes fluttering up to the vaulted ceiling, painted with angels upholding the crown. Crystal chandeliers blazed. Courtiers in jeweled brocade flowed through archways, the shuffle of silk masking whispers about the prince's miraculous recovery and the nameless woman at his side. Guards in black-silver livery lined walls too deep, ostensibly honor detail. In truth, silent blades poised for treachery. Isolde stood just inside the arched entrance, hair caught in a simple ribbon. Her plain gown dyed a deep wine that set off the thorn scars crossing her hands. Captain Rowan had insisted on a dagger hidden in her sleeve. She felt its reassuring weight against her forearm. Across the polished floor, a dais held 2 empty thrones. Servants flitted about arranging goblets. Lord Commander Briarwood strode among them, smiling broadly as he corrected a herald on seating order, his scarred hands resting on the hilt of an ornate saber. Magistrate Elise lingered at his shoulder, hawk-like eyes noting every detail. A trumpet sounded. Courtiers turned. Prince Darien entered through the western corridor, the sweep of his midnight blue cape scattering murmurs like startled birds. He moved with effortless vitality, impossible for a man convalescing from near death. He wore no sword, only a silver rose-shaped brooch at his collar, the symbol of the long-purged Magian houses. A silent declaration few would recognize until too late. Behind him walked King Alderic, stiff with authority, a thin crown glinting above stoic features. Lords bowed, ladies curtsied. Darien's gaze sought Isolde's. When their eyes met, the bond sang bright and warm inside her chest. He offered a subtle nod that said, "Trust me." The king addressed the assembly, voice carrying without strain. "My son lives, and Velanthria rejoices. Tonight we celebrate his return to health and the enduring strength of our laws." Applause rippled, though some clapped warily, noting Darien's vigor. Alderic gestured to musicians who launched into a lyre-bright prelude. Platters of roasted pheasant and sugared peaches appeared, goblets filled with spiced wine. Isolde claimed a place beside a marble pillar near the dais, Rowan unobtrusively at her flank. Her eyes swept the crowd, mapping exits, servant doors, overhead balconies. Near the far buffet, she recognized the golden-haired maid who'd left the threat in her room, disguise stripped now for a soldier's posture beneath lace sleeves. The maid glanced her way and vanished behind a drape. Rowan muttered, "I'll follow the phantom." He slipped into the milling guests. On the dais, Darien stood to offer a toast. "My recovery belongs not to fate alone, but to those who dared compassion over fear." He raised his goblet toward the physician's table, where Isolde was publicly supposed to sit, though she'd refused. "I thank every healer who fought for my life." Briarwood laughed loudly. "Velanthria's royal physicians are unmatched, Highness." Darien's smile was mild. "Indeed, yet some cures require remedies older than our textbooks." He set his goblet down untasted. "Father, before we dine, I propose a demonstration of faith. Bring forth the royal blade." A hush fell. Alderic signaled a guard who presented a slim dagger tempered in magebane steel, the kingdom's symbol of vigilance. Darien took it, drew a breath, then pressed the edge across his palm. Gasps erupted. Blood welled crimson. Isolde's scars pulsed in empathy. Darien lifted the cut for all to see. "Minutes ago, poison nearly claimed my life. Magebane steel is said to negate all sorcery, yet watch." He closed his fingers, drew in power through the bond. Isolde felt it rushing to him, her heartbeat flaring with his. Silver-blue glow blossomed around his hand. When he opened it, the wound had sealed, skin unbroken. Cries of outrage and awe rippled through the hall. Briarwood's face paled, then contorted. Alderic sprang to his feet, voice ablade. "What deception is this?" "No deception," Darien said, calm as moonlight. "Magic exists within me and always has, as it lies dormant in others across the realm. Our laws cannot erase what breathes in our blood." He turned, extended a hand toward Isolde. "This woman risked death to heal me, because compassion is stronger than fear. I name her Isolde of House Thorn, last scion of the healer line slaughtered in the purges, and I claim her under my protection." Murmurs swelled to clamor. Magistrate Elise pointed an accusing quill. "She wields fell sorcery. Seize her." Guards hesitated, eyes darting to the prince. Alderic's command cracked like thunder. "Obey your magistrate." Briarwood moved first, sword rasping free as he advanced across the dais toward Isolde. She drew Rowan's dagger. Darien leaped between them barehanded. Briarwood sneered. "Stand aside, boy, before your father loses a son for treason." Darien's voice rang clear. "I will lose my crown before I lose my soul. Shadow and light spiraled around his fists. He caught Briarwood's descending sword with one palm. Steel hissed against a visible shield of magic. He thrust forward, sending the commander stumbling. Archers along the balconies knocked arrows. Rowan, reappearing behind Isolde with the disguised maid bound at sword point, shouted, "Traitor uncovered!" He ripped a wig from the maid's head, revealing Torrin Grey, the missing footman. Grey spat. "You would have bled the mage scum and ruled in shadow." Briarwood roared, lunging again, but Darien sidestepped, a gesture of his hand wrenching the commander's sword from his grip, sending it clanging across marble. "Enough. Confess before all." Briarwood's gaze darted to Elise, then Alderic. "The prince is bewitched. The witch corrupts his mind." Isolde stepped forward, voice cutting through din. "I bound my life to his to purge poison you supplied. That bond cannot twist what is already virtuous." Briarwood reached for a hidden dagger, but Rowan's arrow struck floor at his feet. Torrin Grey broke free, sprinting toward a side exit. Guards converged, chaos blooming. Alderic raised both hands, silencing the musician's frantic playing. "Prince Darien, relinquish power of sorcery, or be declared enemy of the realm." Darien faced his father. "You taught me duty. I now fulfill it, to protect our people from fear. Magic is not the enemy. Tyranny is." He turned, extended his right hand to Isolde. "Stand with me." She met his eyes, the bond blazing with love and terror intertwined. She placed her scarred hand in his. Power surged, green gold entwining silver blue, painting their clasped fingers in living light. Alderic's voice faltered. "Son, think." "I have thought every night since the purges." Darien stepped onto the dais, drawing Isolde with him. "Velanthria's first law proclaims the crown's purpose to safeguard life. Tonight it condemns the very healer who saved me. I refuse." He knelt, surprising the hall into stunned silence, and pressed his free hand to the marble tiles. Magic rippled outward, snuffing torches yet bathing the room in luminous twilight of pure arcane essence. The glow revealed faint sigils painted across pillars, Briarwood's hidden glyphs meant to trigger magebane snares. Exposed, they shimmered malevolent crimson. Elise stumbled back. "High treason!" Rowan shouted, "Behold the commander's plot." He produced a parchment from Grey's satchel, orders bearing Briarwood's seal and Elise's countersign, detailing the poisoning plan and false purge. Nobles gasped. Some stepped away from Elise. Briarwood lunged at Rowan in despair, but an arrow from a balcony archer pierced his thigh. He collapsed, snarling curses before guards pinned him. Alderic took one faltering step, then steadied. Silence swallowed the hall. Father and son faced each other across shifting magic light. Alderic's voice came low. "If I yield to change I cannot control, chaos will devour us." "Then guide it," Darien said softly. "Let fear end tonight. Share power instead of crushing it." Moments stretched. Finally, Alderic's shoulders dropped. He looked suddenly older, flesh etched by regret. "Release the commander. The magistrate will stand trial. The witch will wed my son and temper his heart." A tremor of half-laughter escaped him. "Perhaps that balance will save us all." Nobles erupted in cries, some jubilant, some enraged. But archers kept bows trained. Guards remained loyal to Crown, which had spoken. Elise's quill snapped, ink spattering her gown as she was escorted away with Briarwood. Darien turned to the assembly. "Witness a new accord. From this night persecution of magic ends. Arcane gifts shall serve the realm, bound by justice, not fear. And to seal this covenant..." He sank to one knee, lifting Isolde's hand. "Will you rule beside me, healer of body and soul?" Emotion flooded her, the forest loneliness, the terror, the fragile hope he kindled. She smiled, tears bright. "Yes, my prince. My answer is yes." He rose, kissed her scarred palms before pressing his lips to hers. The hall exhaled as one. Some sighs, some gasps. Rowan swept forward, beckoning musicians. A triumphant melody burst, drowning dissent. Servants cleared broken glass, righted toppled chairs. In the frenzy of salvage, Darian guided Isolde to the balcony overlooking the torchlit courtyard beyond. Crowds had gathered below at first word of banquet spectacle. Darian raised their entwined hands. Magic glittered between their fingers. Roars of astonishment and applause rolled upward like thunder. Isolde leaned close, voice barely a breath. "We have started a war of ideals." "We have started life," he replied. "Battle may follow, but we face it together." Their kiss tasted of iron-sweet blood and dawn's promise. Behind them, King Alderic addressed courtiers about reform councils and trials, but the world narrowed to the brush of lips, the warmth of palms unburdened by chains. Hours later, under lanterns strung from rose arbors in the palace gardens, Isolde walked beside Darian through dew-touched grass. Lantern light glinted off petals, painting them in gold. He paused beneath an ancient thorn tree whose branches had survived every purge. He removed the silver rose brooch, pinned it at her neckline. "Velanthria's future begins with thorns," he said. "Proof beauty and danger can coexist and blossom." She touched the brooch. "And ends with hope." "Never ends," he corrected, cupping her cheeks. "Ends imply limits." She laughed, a sound like wind chimes freed from winter ice. "Then let it grow boundless." He kissed her, slow and certain. When they parted, fireworks erupted overhead. Rowan's commanding flourish to distract the city while prisoners were relocated. Colors burst red, violet, emerald across the sky. Isolde watched reflections dance in Darian's eyes, felt the pulse of their bond echo the boom. In distant quarters, priests drafted new edicts. Alaric marshaled scholars to catalog outlawed tomes. But amid the tumult, one healer and one prince stood beneath falling sparks, hands entwined. The scars on Isolde's skin shimmered faintly, no longer emblems of pain alone, but sigils of power shared. Darian traced them reverently. "Your thorns saved me." "Your heart saved us both," she whispered. The night breathed around them, fragrant with roses newly allowed to grow wild. Somewhere a dove cooed, hopeful and sleepy, as if amazed at the hush after thunder. They walked deeper into the garden, steps unhurried, speaking softly, of schools for magic, of healing houses, of children someday unafraid to claim strange gifts. Behind them, torches along palace walls burned brighter than they had in decades, not in warning, but in welcome. And above, constellations wrote new lines across the velvet dark, telling future generations how a witch and a prince tore down fear with compassion and crowned their kingdom with the boundless bloom of thorns and light.